So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Business Insights in November 2024. We're joined today by Josh and Kira, as well as a number of other very good members of the networking group that we have here. And we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Now, for the last couple of years, artificial intelligence has obviously been growing in all of our world in quite a big way. There's a lot of things that are said about artificial intelligence, a lot of things that are guessed about artificial intelligence, and there are a very, very large range of ways you can come at it, whether you're at critical national security and security agendas, or whether you're simply coming down to using ChatGPT and actually Google making my world a little bit more efficient. But what we're looking at today is we've got a number of questions we're going to ask about using it in the context of business and keeping it as user-friendly as we can so that business can actually get some benefit from this without overcooking time, energy, and everything else. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to invite Kira and Josh to introduce themselves and maybe contextualize themselves in this conversation, and then we'll get going. Kira, would you like to go first? Tell us who you are and what you do in life.
Absolutely. Thanks, Pete. So my name is Kira, and I'm the founder of Diary of an SEO, an SEO consultancy helping businesses of all shapes and sizes either expand internationally or just become more visible locally. So SEO is search engine optimization, and that is basically how visible you are in search engines like Google. Obviously, we're talking about AI today, and it's really prevalent in the world of SEO. It's really helped specialists like myself deliver better results for people, and business owners use it a lot to create content and make their websites a lot better. And today, I think I just want to explore and tell business owners how they can harness AI safely and efficiently to help themselves become more visible on Google and get more business.
Brilliant, thank you. Josh, would you like to introduce yourself for the purpose of anybody watching this and tell us a little bit about who you are and how you fit into this world of AI?
Yes, sir. My name is Josh Thomas, and I have been building sales teams and sales processes for the last 16 years. And AI became a thing a couple of years ago, and I was like everybody else, just like, ah. And I realized that 90% of businesses are a little bit intimidated, a little bit overwhelmed, and it doesn't mean they don't want to learn AI. It doesn't mean they don't want to use it, but it's a big learning curve and it's a big barrier. And so the thing that I did was I focused on my skill set, which is sales, and it increases your bottom line and it brings dollars in the door. And so if I can apply AI to sales and I can give you an immediate ROI for using AI without having to become a tech genius, then that may help the adoption rate. And so I created what's called conversational funnels. A traditional sales funnel is very static. It's not interactive. It doesn't respond to the questions that people naturally have when they're considering buying something. And so we just inserted a little bit of AI into that process to make it conversational and interactive so that the sales process online is a lot more like a conversation with a trusted friend.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, that's what it is.
And you've got a business called Anabots AI.
That's right. Yeah. Anabots builds AI chat, and then we insert that into the full ecosystem there for conversational funnels.
And for the interest of those watching, Josh is sat in Austin in Texas with us today, and we're very grateful for you getting up early in the morning to come and join in. Brilliant.
I had a just really quick. I had a lunch and learn that was hosted in the UK, and that was actually at 6 a.m. for me. That was much earlier than this one.
There you go. You're a star and a martyr to the cause. Well done, sir. Well done, sir. Okay, so I've got some questions here, which we've just sort of talked about a little bit ahead with Josh and Kira. And what I'm going to do is just throw those questions out and give both of you a bite at the cherry. Some of our guests may throw a question in as we go, but we'll also have a bit of time for questions at the end. So first of all, and we'll maybe let Kira go first with this, just to give you a bit of a heads up, Kira. Someone who isn't technical, like me, for example, give us some practical, accessible ways that small businesses specifically can start integrating AI into their daily operations for digital markets, increasing scales. And it may not be that they realize they're inserting AI. It may, of course, be that that's coming with a package that they're looking at. So, Kira, what's your take on that?
So even a couple of months ago, I was quite a Luddite about AI. I didn't really trust it. I don't want to trust it. I thought the old way is better, just do it yourself. But as we've progressed, I can kind of see that, AI is the mother of innovation, as we say it, and it has to be implemented in your daily routine. So I obviously work with a lot of local clients, and I've been looking at ways to help people implement AI into their processes, save themselves time, and get better returns. And just some of the quickest ways that you can use AI is, well, Josh already mentioned this, but chatbots on your website that you can code to actually get more customers and reply to them, have a quicker response rate and better levels of customer service. And something that's quite revolutionary is AI cold calling for small businesses, which we've tested, and it's been quite incredible, to be honest. So it's so real to the point that someone is on the phone, so a cold lead, and they say "bye love" as if you're talking to a human, which has been really, really interesting. And the setup is quite long to start with, but the possibilities are endless. So you can use it for reaching out to clients, saving yourself time, using them as your virtual assistant. So instead of like a VA or just a human helping you do your work, you can have an AI assistant bot. And you can also, I know we talked about this in one of my previous workshops, but for content on your website, it can give you lots of ideas and it can give you inspiration and research, just saving you lots of time and putting you so far ahead of your competition that don't want to use AI.
Brilliant, lovely. And we'll, as we go on, we'll look about how we achieve getting that AI engaged, because there are ways, I think, that aren't necessarily over technical. Sorry, pardon me. Josh, that same question, someone who isn't technical, what practical, accessible ways a small business can start integrating AI into what they're doing?
So here's the number one thing that you can do with AI right now if you're running a business that you want to have an immediate impact. There's a 1,000 different things we can do with our business to try to grow it. We can hire better salespeople. We can hire better marketing people. We can get better systems. But you really, that's all good, but you don't need to do any of it. The only thing that you really have to do to boost your sales is get back to people faster. There's some stats behind this. There's some data. You can look this up. And the data says that your customers are expecting you to get back to them within 5 minutes of their initial inquiry. If you don't get back to them within 5 minutes, according to the data, your chances of ever doing business with that person goes down by 80%. So now, here's another statistic, and I'm not going to just throw a bunch of numbers at you. Just bear with me. I got 3 total. Another statistic: the average response time for most businesses across the board. Remember, that expectation is 5 minutes. The average response time for most businesses is 47 hours. It's almost 2 days. Most of us don't remember what website we were on 2 days ago. We don't remember what we ate 2 days ago. We don't remember who we talked to 2 days ago. So usually after about 10 minutes, whoever was reaching out and interested in your business, they've already moved on. And then the last statistic I'll give you is there is some good news. If you can respond to your customer inquiry within 1 minute, then your chances of doing business with them actually goes up 391%. So being able to respond to somebody who said, "Hey, I'm interested in learning more about what you do," and getting back to them inside of 60 seconds, you have a 4 times higher chance of closing that business than if you wait just 5 minutes and it's almost zero after that. 10 minutes, they're already talking to your competitor. And so where does that leave us? How does AI fit into that? We're only human. We can't be hovering around our phones. We've got other customers to tend to. We've got family matters. We've got dinner, recreation. We've got horses to ride. And so how can we get back to somebody in 1 minute? We're only human. And that's where AI comes in. Because your AI can respond immediately, usually within about 5 seconds. And it can be there to answer their basic upfront questions, preserving your ability to get that conversion for X higher. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and we will come later, of course, to the differential between having an AI respond to you and having a human respond to you. And obviously, as things move on, but there is a clear differential in that. But I guess we can all relate to that whole issue. You know, you go online, you want to do something, and then for some reason it's not happening. The banking world or something that's stopping you down, and actually those delays do cost you. And it is relative to what it is that you're dealing with in business, but I think we can all recognize that the pace of response there is one of a number of factors that that affect that. So when it comes to AI assistance and helping with that search engine optimization, and for search agencies, how can AI actually engage that? Now that's really a Kira question, being SEO, but I wonder, Josh, do you want a bite at that at all? Is SEO coming to your world before we let Kira have a proper bite at it as an SEO expert?
Can you ask the question, the first
Right.
part of the question? I just didn't hear you.
How can AI assistance really help with search engine optimization and SEO for SEO agencies who are looking at the SEO in your business and your web?
Yeah, for me, it all comes down to creating high quality, genuine content at scale. And we actually have, when we present, we do this little segment called Talk GPT, where we basically walk somebody through creating content without ever having to type anything by using ChatGPT to give us a couple of prompts, and then we have them talk about it, and then we have ChatGPT organize that and turn it into a piece of content that we can then publish. And that allows us to publish really high quality, relevant content with a couple of minutes without having to sit there and type and think about all of this, because we let the AI organize it for us. And we can have it organized in a way that's optimized for SEO, and so that can get more eyeballs and more traffic coming our way. That's how I would personally use it as far as SEO.
So Kira, do you want to pick up on that? You obviously got a thought about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said before, AI has really revolutionized the way we work and the detail that we're able to find now. So in terms of an SEO specialist, in simple words, when we take on a client, we compare you to every single one of your competitors. And that used to be a manual job not so long ago. So you'd have to sit there and go through the lists of your competitors. So say if someone is like a wellness practitioner or something, we'll go through all your competitors in Cheltenham, have to see what they're doing better, what they're doing worse. And that would take hours or days sometimes. But now, so you can build your individual workflow with AI, which is another cool thing about it, is that AI is broad, but you can make it work for you whatever way you want. So we built a workflow that analyzes all your competitors and actually sometimes finds things that we don't see so easily. So it's down to how much content they have, if it's good enough, and the way that the machine sees if it's good enough or not is how is it semantically related to what you're selling, how long are the titles, how many pictures, what those pictures say. It can even read the code behind the picture, and it kind of outputs a roadmap for you of the changes that you need to make. And when this used to take us, I don't know, maybe like under a month to do all the auditing, it now can take 5-6 hours. So all of a sudden we can get so much more done so quickly. So from an SEO perspective, it's been incredible because we can help people achieve more, so make more money, get more clients, probably 50 or 60% quicker than we used to, which is quite fun.
Interesting. And you can certainly see the way you describe that, about how that pace of engagement with that AI brings can actually bluntly get the job done faster, and therefore get to a point where you can get a better result sooner. So I can see that. Now, both of those points and both of those sets of comments that you guys have been making is good. We can follow the logic of the pattern, and we can see that. But for someone who is, a graphic designer sitting in their bedroom running their business as a graphic designer, or someone running a small 1 or 2 man business, running around the place like a headless chicken, trying to actually do what he's meant to be doing, let alone do the stuff that he's trying to work out with, this will all be a bit daunting. So I guess my next question, what are the challenges that a small business face when they're adopting this new technology? How can AI itself actually overcome some of those challenges? But how would that business engage that journey? Kira, let's stay with you. Would you want to take that first?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to start off with, something that we've already touched on is kind of inspiration for content or anything else. I know we talk about content a lot, but if you are a small business, there's a lot to do, and because there's so much to do, we end up not doing anything at all, and then we're just sitting there with a pile of things to do. So AI can help you organize those tasks. So actually, it's not AI that said it first. It was Warren Buffett. He said, write a list of 20 things in order of importance, and then just cross out the last 15. So you've got the top 5 things to do. And that's what AI does for you now. So there's platforms that you can use to have a list of things. It can help you logically organize what is more important, because at the end of the day, we are human and we have feelings and we don't know what to do first. So for a small business, I think using AI to prioritize what you need to do and getting inspiration on the next step to grow your business would be vital if you're in the early stages of business. So kind of use it as something to bounce ideas off of, and use it as a tool to reach platforms that can help you get better. So the AI, it scans everything on the web and then gives you the best results. So you can ask it for articles for businesses in the same industry as you who do really well, so you can learn from what it gives you.
So I presume that the kind of function you're talking about there is available in an app of some sort, or a couple of different apps that might be available. I mean, that's a really good starting place for somebody who's accessing it from ground zero and saying, okay, I know not what I'm doing here. What would be really great, while I invite Josh to answer that question, is if there were just a couple of very simple links you could buzz into the chat.
Yeah, I can.
About try this, you don't have to know anything. It'll just help you sort that jobs list out and that kind of game. That would be really helpful.
Absolutely.
Josh, adopting the technology, small business, very overloaded already. How do they tackle that?
Yeah, so the number one recommendation I would make is keep it simple. We're all very busy. We're all very involved in whatever it is we're doing, and we all have our own specialties. The great thing about AI is you don't have to be an AI expert to leverage it and get value from it. Just the same that if I needed some electrical work done at my house, I would not go and become an electrician in order to do that. I would probably just hire one. Or if I was going to try to do it myself, I would go and look it up on YouTube and have somebody just show me exactly what wires to hit so I don't get electrocuted and die. And same thing with AI. If I'm going to do it myself, I'm just going to follow a formula. And I'm probably not going to overcomplicate it with too many different, there's probably 1,000 different softwares out there that you can use. But let's start with the basics. Everybody has heard of ChatGPT. It passes, my friend Rob Cressy calls it the grandma test. He's like, if my grandma's heard of it, then it's okay. Because he says, my grandma's heard of ChatGPT, but she hasn't heard of Claude or Gemini or any of those other things, even though they're basically the same. So start with ChatGPT and treat it like the ultimate assistant. Like if your 9-year-old child was your executive assistant, that's ChatGPT, right? Really eager to please you, will do absolutely anything you ask, but if you don't give it enough context or information, it's just going to go off the rails and give you some like weird stuff. So you just have to be as specific as you can and say, hey, this is the task I need to complete. Here's the parameters of the task. Here's your instructions. Here's where to go and get the things you need. Now execute. If you just think of it like that, stick with ChatGPT and just try to get it to produce a result by telling it exactly what you want. Then you can apply that skill to all of these other really cool resources that Kira just shared. And you'll be a lot more successful with those. Because if you can get ChatGPT to work, you can get all these other ones to work. If you struggle to get ChatGPT to work, all of these other softwares are probably going to just confuse you even more. It's just one more learning curve.
I'm loving the comparison of ChatGPT and AI to a 9-year-old child. I've got to use that. I think that's absolutely great. And
it's very eager. It wants to do a good job, you know. It just needs a little more input.
I think any of us who had or have 9-year-old or young children can relate to that, exactly what you're saying. How old is your child? 9 years old?
Mine? No, she's almost 18, so she's way too cool for me now, yeah.
Lovely, fantastic. So look, Josh, staying with you for a second, let's just move this discussion on a little bit. I mean, that's been really helpful, and Kira's put some things in the chat box there. The chat box, sorry, what am I saying? In the chat there are some links. But another aspect of this that people are going to be concerned about is obviously the risks, the challenges, the securities, and that's the operational risk in terms of actually, you know, can I manage how this thing goes? If I'm responding so quickly, can I deal with that? But also, obviously, the digital and security risks of an online function. So I wonder if you'd like to just give us a bit of an overview as a small business person starts thinking about going down this road. What do you see as the risks and the challenges of using AI in your business? Josh, do you want to pick that up first?
As far as security, here's the best way that I can put it. Just a few months ago, Microsoft was compromised and shut down half of the airports on the planet. And Microsoft is one of the biggest tech companies, if not the biggest tech company in the world. And supposedly, they're probably spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year on cybersecurity. If they can get compromised, anything that you're doing in your business or online can also get compromised. So to a certain extent, and I don't mean to be a doomsday guy here, but to a certain extent, cybersecurity is it's a little bit protection and it's a little bit theater. We can only be so well protected. And so we have to accept that if we're not going to live in a cabin in the woods off the grid, we are susceptible to cybersecurity attacks and security risks. That said, it's no more or less secure than your email or your text messages or any other software that you use. They're using the same protocols. And so is it riskier or anything like that? Not really. It's about the same level of risk in interacting with any kind of electronics. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of your question?
Well, it was just the general risk, and you know, actually, you have a multiplicity of risks when you're running a business. Cyber is absolutely, definitively one of them. But are there other risks and challenges? I mean, the basic one that you can look at is saying, look, it's going to take me a load of time to work this thing out and get it working. That has to be a challenge. It may well be worth a challenge worth taking on. But are there other broad risks that you see in AI in business?
Yeah, and here's one. I mean, there's a lot of kind of general things to be aware of, but here's one. Remember, ChatGPT is your 9-year-old who wants to do a real good job being your assistant. And when you ask it to give you an answer that it doesn't have or it doesn't know, sometimes it'll make it up, and it'll generalize. And you can say, hey, go get me a list of statistics that back up this idea. And like, yay, sure thing. Here's one. And you're like, great. You put it into your article and you publish it. And then somebody comes back and says, oh, wait, ABC Enterprises doesn't exist. What? So that's actually happened, by the way. And so it will hallucinate, which is the term that they use. It will hallucinate and just completely make up information if you don't tell it not to. And so we have to put that guardrail on there that says, if you're going and asking it to go and find something, you have to actually specify, make sure that whatever you find actually exists. And that's a big risk, because if it's making up stuff, especially if it's representing you, you don't want it to say things that aren't true. You don't want it to make an offer. Yeah.
Brand, tone of voice, and brand presence and brand words. That's a really important one, isn't it? Because obviously you are what you project. Kira, what's your take on those challenges and risks when it comes to AI and engaging that with your business?
So very important, this bit, and Jill actually left a comment in the chat just now that it is, the responsibility is still with the human. So AI will not let you cut corners, and I think that's what a lot of people do at the moment. So an example would be getting ChatGPT to rewrite your content. So you put something down, you send it off, and you say, make it sound better. I know everyone's done it. I've done it as well back when it worked. But
get out of my head.
Yeah. But that becomes quite dangerous. So I'll give a little bit of like a story on this, because when ChatGPT first blew up, we started using it for our SEO work. So for a lot of our featured snippets, which is like the text that comes up at the top for definitions or like a business. And we used to rank crazy numbers, so like hundreds and hundreds of new pages in days when it worked. But then there comes a time when it stops working, when Google figures it out, and when it starts removing websites for having too much AI content on the site, because Google can tell now what is AI and what isn't. So for those people, I don't know how many of you already use ChatGPT, but after a while, you start to see that the style of the text is very similar across everything that you write. So the structure of the blogs or any content, the Americanizations, which I guess is not an issue in the US, but in the UK, it only outputs American content unless you tell it not to. And just the types of words used. So say seamless, that's a very ChatGPT word. And what AI is, so what ChatGPT is just a repetition of everything that already exists on the web. So it's taking everything that's already there and spitting it back to you. So regurgitating that content back to you. So there is nothing original in that content. So I had someone say, well, I use it because our tone of voice for the company is, you know, people in their late 30s, but I write like a teenager. So I've just told ChatGPT to sound like a 40-year-old. That should never be a thing, because Google can now tell when your content has been written with too much GPT input. And there are actually tools that can give you a percentage of how AI your text is. And the really sad reality is that the people that overused AI on their websites were just removed from Google search. And that is the most horrible thing that can happen to your website, because we can't control when it comes back, and you just have no website. So part of your identity is basically gone online. So I would say, long story short, that you have to still be accountable for the content that you publish. And I would say make ChatGPT a multi-step assistance process rather than write me a blog on this. It has to be more human input for it to be great, but it should be used.
And I think there's some great technical stuff there, and you explained well some of this you can come up against on the technical front when that's blocked. But also, I think if you know, any of us who are working with people who are looking after our brand, and actually we come back to the comment that we came out at the end of what Josh was saying, was this brand tone of voice, which you know, we all know with brand, you have the logo, you have the tone of voice, you have the culture, you have a lot of things that go into make a brand up. And the question is, you know, will ChatGPT or any form of AI ever really be able to get their heads around a brand tone of voice, which you as an organization feel you're doing? Now, that's an open question. You know, it certainly can't do it at the moment, but will it be able to at one point? Because it's got to learn that tone of voice, and that is a very humanistic feature. So a fascinating one, but a big challenge if we start overusing ChatGPT or AI, as we say. So look, we alluded to a little bit earlier about people wanting to deal with people as opposed to deal with AI, and that can be It can be a misconception in the sense that, you know, people get hung up about what to do with people, but actually if they just go with it, it's a lot more efficient and they'll get to the end they want very much more quicker if they trust the technology. Or it can be very for real in the sense that actually that human touch in different aspects is really important. As you're looking at it as a business and you're thinking about AI, do you have a view about how you engage that human versus technology thing with your clients? Kira, do you want to go first on that?
Sure. I think in terms of things like chatbots, so that's quite a, a machine first approach. Again, it depends on the person who is coming onto your website, but the great thing is that you can make AI sound incredibly human. So that's slightly more advanced techniques than ChatGPT. But like I said, you can have an AI VA sounds like a real human. You can code it to be whatever you want it to be and speak however you want it to speak and actually pick up on people's voice. And so they don't know that they're speaking to a machine, which I know is quite creepy as well, but it does work. And I think that's quite useful. So in terms of the how human do we want it to be, again, if you use AI correctly. So when I say correctly, I mean you sit down, the setup is going to take you a really long time. That's the human input that you have to go through to get the best result. You sit there, you program it to be exactly how you want it to be with your tone of voice. So you can actually pre-program what you want it to sound like. You can add it as a plugin onto your website. So then it will sound exactly like you, but always keep an eye out for, you can never trust it 100%. So you always have to be there. It's kind of like those like robot coffee makers in Japan and Asia and stuff like that. Like there's always someone still on shift who is a human if something blows up or catches fire, that you're there to fix it. So I would say over-reliance is what will get you in trouble. But
and is that a personal judgment as you go along the way, do you think, as you
I
use it?
Yeah. I think, like I said, depends on the person, depends on how much time you want to invest. Again, if you feel safer and more comfortable just doing it the human way until the end, that's also fine because we see now there's data to prove that human first content that's been written by professional copywriters who are actually in very high demand now because people have realized how shitty ChatGPT is. So it just depends on the type of person you are and how much you actually want to rely on the machine.
Yeah, that's good. I must say, just purely personally, because we write a lot of copy content very sharply for the shows and things we do, and quite often where we're dealing with an area where we're not the specialism, we will tell ChatGPT to come up with something, and actually then we'll look at that, we'll read it, and we'll go, huh, yeah, okay, now completely rewrite it, and we're in tone of voice and everything, but at least what it's done is it's fed the headline stuff in. It's really useful like that. Josh, obviously you're dealing with sales and actually how these things work. So what's your take, that balance between dealing with humans and dealing with the output from AI?
So there's a sentiment that my customers want to talk to a human. My customers don't want to deal with robots. My customers can tell the difference. And that has been said over and over and over again. And you might be right, but the data says otherwise. The data says that 80% of people who are asking about your business have no preference on whether they're talking to a human or a machine or a llama or any other form of communication, as long as they get the answers to their questions quickly. There's been a lot of surveys done on this. Like, oh, well, my people, they want to talk to people. Actually, no. 80% of them would rather talk to a robot if the robot can get back to them within 5 minutes. Because if they have to wait for you for 47 hours, it doesn't matter.
And of course, that depends, I suspect, a little bit on the nature of the client, the nature of the inquiry, and the nature of the dialogue, doesn't it?
It certainly could. There's always, nothing's ever black and white. It's a world full of gray. But the other thing to think about there is there's at least 60% of people who have had some sort of online interaction have suspected they were talking to a chatbot, but they weren't sure.
Yeah.
And so it actually is, if it's done correctly, it actually is really hard to tell the difference. Not that we're trying to sneak one by you. Like anything that I build as far as AI chat, we're always transparent. It's AI chat. I mean, we're not gonna like broadcast it. But if you ask, like, yes, I'm an AI assistant, because there's no reason to hide it. And a lot of times, if we say it up front, you get a little bit of that grace, especially on an AI voice call. It's like, hey, I'm a digital assistant. Oh, you're a digital assistant? Okay. Because that saves us the embarrassment of when there's like this tiny little weird glitch 2 minutes into the call. And like, wait, is this a robot? If I just tell you I'm a robot up front, then it's okay.
And I think there's an important point there, because there's the integrity of communication, isn't there? There's, exactly what you say. It can actually create a negative and a resenting effect if you trip over the fact where you believed it was one thing and suddenly it's something else. And actually, there's a negativity built into that, which isn't there if you're absolutely upfront at the beginning. And also, I suspect, because, the scamming side of this, which obviously is ever present with us, is predicated on the fact that I'm persuading you I'm something that I'm not. So if actually I trip over the fact, if you ever get a really, really good voice bot and you're not quite sure and you ask it a slightly obscure question, and then it just comes back to the question it asked a minute ago, you say, okay, we know who you are, but actually saying that up front, then you're not trying those tricks. Your mind is not trying to defeat the thing. You're actually focused on what you're focusing on.
It's kind of like, so Paul's gotten into running. Right. And if I say, okay, Paul, here's the exercises that you need to do. Here's the diet that you need to eat. And he's like, okay, cool. And then like 2 months later, he's like, well, why did you give me that advice? I don't know. I read it on the internet. But he's probably going to be pretty angry with me. But if I say, Paul, I'm no running expert, but here's something that's worked for me, just adding that little bit of context, now I get grace by him saying, okay, well, he's proving to me he hasn't like run a marathon or anything, but he's sharing to me what's important to him. It's just that little bit of honesty up front that buys us a lot of grace in our relationships, and we do the same thing with AI.
I think that's really great. Just going to change track a bit and stay with you, Josh, for a second, because something that's very personal to what you do and how you operate. Talk to us about conversational funnels, which was a new one on me when I saw you raising it, and actually it's something you're doing with, and how that works with AI in the sales context, I think, isn't it? Over to you.
So just like people want their answers when they want them, sometimes when people are interested in your product or service, they may not be ready to talk to you yet, but they have questions and they want those questions answered. And if you're not able to answer those questions, they're going to go to Reddit and they're going to find some crotchety, angry person that's going to tell them don't do anything because the world sucks. And so it's better for them to get those answers from you, but they're not ready to talk to you yet. Oh, I don't want to waste his time. Oh, they're just going to try to sell me something. And so what we need to do is we need to give them an avenue to get those questions answered right away so that they can say, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and book the call now. The other side of that coin is they get those questions answered and they're like, you know what? This is awesome, but I'm still not ready. I'm not sure if I trust you yet. I'm not sure if this is the right time for me. No problem. That's where we go in on the back end and we engage them with nurture on automation. So there's AI chat right there at the moment when they have those buyer questions, and we answer those questions thoroughly and completely in a way that's unintimidating. There's no pressure. We're not feeling like we're putting anybody out. And then if you're not ready, if you're ready to decide, it's trained to get you booked on a call or close a sale or send you a link or whatever. And if you're still not ready, then we send you into a longer-term nurture and indoctrination sequence that's totally automated, where we're building that relationship, we're building the know, like, and trust factor, we're overcoming objections, and we're inviting them back into the conversation about doing business with us. And so it's really just an entire ecosystem that plugs the holes of your sales process using AI and automation by just treating the customer exactly the way they want to be treated. We answer the questions when they have them. We give them the information they want. We give them all the time they need to make a decision, but we never go away, and we never have to remember to follow up.
Brilliant. So listen, that's all been really interesting, and I'm wondering if any of you folks have got any questions or anything you want to lob at Josh or Kira. We say welcome to Florin, who joined us from Mexico, but it's a really interesting and quite difficult space. So has anyone got anything they want to ask before we hand back over to Jill? Any thoughts? No? Okay. Good. Okay. Both of you, thank you so much for that. Really interesting. Jill,